Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottama devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is entitled Prayers by the Demigods. They are offering prayers to Lord Krishna, who is still in the womb of Mother Devaki. This is the first prayer, the verse we're going to read today. The prayers begin actually from this verse, the 26th verse. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Satyatmakam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Ja Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Ja Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Ja Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Satyavratam, the personality of Godhead, who never deviates from his vow. Satyaparam, who is the absolute truth, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Satyam Param Dhimahi. Trisatyam is always present as the absolute truth before the creation of this cosmic manifestation during its maintenance and even after its annihilation. Satyasya, of all relative truths, which are emanations from the absolute truth Krishna, Yonim, the cause, Nihitam, entered, Cha, and Satye, in the factors that create this material world, namely the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Satyasya, of all that is accepted as the truth. Satyam, the Lord is the original truth. Rita Satya Netram, He is the origin of whatever truth is pleasing. Sunetram, Satya Atmakam, everything pertaining to the Lord is truth. Sachidananda, His body is truth, His knowledge is truth, and His pleasure is truth. Tvam, unto you, O Lord, Sharanam, offering our full surrender. Prapannaha, we are completely under your protection. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The demigods prayed, O Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the three phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth, in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone, for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. Please repeat this translation after me. The demigods prayed, O Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the three phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone, for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. It's a very long purport. It's a 5-page purport. So I'll not read the purport, but we'll discuss whatever is there in the purport after going through this verse little by little. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Yatkripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Yatkripatamaham vande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. It is significant that the Devatas, headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada, Devala, Vyasa, all of them are appearing invisibly in the prison house where Devaki is imprisoned by Kamsa. And they are offering prayers to Krishna within the womb of Devaki. Generally, people think only after the child comes out of the womb, then we say the child is born. But actually, birth is at the time, at least for us living entities, the time the child is conceived in the womb of the mother, actually that is the birth of the child. Because as we understand from Bhagavad Gita, the real person, the real child is the soul. And the soul has no birth. Na jayate. Soul has no birth. So the soul is always existing, eternally existing. But what we call as birth applies to the body. And the soul enters the body, which is the combination of the secretions of the father and mother, which is going to form the body, that combination. And the formation of the body is happening in the mother's womb, which is the ideal condition. Ideal conditions are there in the mother's womb for the body to be developed up to a certain point till the child can subsist without any support from the mother for its body itself. to be developed. So actually, the birth is when the soul takes shelter of a particular father and mother. But in this case, Krishna is not entering the womb of Devaki like a living being, a tiny spirit soul, is forced to enter a particular womb of a mother. Krishna, as the Supreme Lord, he chooses his parents, his devotees, Vasudeva, Devaki. And in response to their prayer, he is actually appearing as their son. And his appearance also is in his spiritual form, original spiritual form. He doesn't require any material body. Neither he even comes in contact with matter. He's completely aloof from matter always, eternally. Even though matter is his own energy, material energy is spiritual. Whereas when that material energy is differentiated into matter, material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, etc., then that material elements are called as matter. Those elements are called as matter. Energy itself is completely spiritual. It's not material. Then why should we say material energy? Why should we differentiate it from spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord? That is because the material energy differentiates into these elements, and these elements are not having that spiritual quality. They have a different quality called material quality. And these material qualities are created in this world, in this material world, at the time of creation. So the energy is not created, the energy is not material, but because it is utilized by the Lord for the sake of creating matter, for the sake of the living entities who want to enjoy materially, who want to lord over material nature. So therefore, for their sake, the Lord creates this material world. So after this creation happens, even before the creation, the Lord is completely aloof from matter. During the creation also, he does not come in contact with matter because he has got his agents who will do the actual work of creation, like Brahma and all the Devatas, Prajapatis, and even Lord Shiva. Everybody is involved in this creation after the Supreme Lord, as Vishnu, he gives the spiritual touch to this process of creation. As Vishnu, he starts the creation process, and it's further carried on by Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and the Prajapatis. And material nature itself, as Durga Devi, she also participates in this creation. Not only the creation and the maintenance and the destruction, everything. Materially, she does everything. So, like this, we should understand that the Supreme Lord never comes in contact with anything matter, but still matter cannot exist without the Supreme Lord's support. Nothing can exist without his support. So his support is explained here. So the demigods and the sages, they are offering prayers to the Lord, and through these prayers we can understand Krishna's actual characteristics, his position, his situation. Because always this doubt exists in this material world as to who is the supreme. Different people have different theories or different ideas or different kind of philosophies. But actually, the truth, the reality, the ultimate truth is that Krishna is the supreme and nobody else can be equal to him or greater than him. Asamordhva. All this is explained very clearly in the scriptures. But people do not generally refer to the scriptures when it comes to trying to understand who is the supreme or who is God or who is the absolute truth. They speculate, they theorize, they try to analyze with their imperfect senses, with their imperfect mind. They have so many defects because of which on their own they cannot, individually or collectively, ever figure out who is God or what is the absolute truth or what is the supreme. They can never find out. Always remain unknown. Known. The supreme truth for the materialists, for the non-devotees, is always unknown. So therefore, through the prayers of the devatas, of the saintly persons, of the pure devotees, of the great sages, we can know who is God. We can know what is this material world. We can know how creation takes place. Everything we can know only from these sources. Therefore, these prayers, not only here, this particular prayer, but all the prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the entire set of prayers, all the prayers are actually the descriptions of the absolute truth, are describing the characteristics of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, and also everything about his creation, his position, his devotees, his energies, everything is revealed in these prayers. Therefore, these prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam are very, very important. They are explaining the original Vedas. They are explaining in clear terms the Upanishads. They are explaining the Vedanta Sutra. They are the explanation for all these. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is also called the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the author himself. Because Vedanta Sutra, the author is Vyasadeva, And even the Srimad Bhagavatam, the author is Vyasadeva. So both are the work of Vyasadeva. So the purpose of compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam was to explain the Vedanta Sutra, which is very difficult to understand. Even for great Vedic scholars, it is difficult. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra has to be understood either directly from the Lord. Lord has explained this Vedanta Sutra in the Bhagavad Gita, the form Bhagavad Gita, but directly speaking the Bhagavad Gita, or by understanding it from his devotees, like Shukadev Goswami. He is giving us the explanation of the Vedanta philosophy. He is describing God in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Or the Acharyas who have written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Nimbarakacharya, Vishnu Swami, all the Baldev Vidyabhushan in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. All these Acharyas have written elaborate explanations for the Vedanta Sutra. Otherwise, Vedanta Sutra is very difficult to understand even for the great Vedic scholars. They come to a incorrect conclusion after studying the Vedanta Sutra according to their understanding based on the original Vedas. Because the Vedic language itself is very difficult to understand. Just like this verse itself is a good example. In these prayers, even though the intention is not to confuse or make it very difficult to understand, the use of this word Satya, how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 times this word Satya has been used. So when one word is used many times, the understanding of that particular word should not be taken like it's the same meaning everywhere. Neither we can understand which meaning applies in which particular instance. Language itself, as we know, one word can have more than one meaning. And that is particularly true when we try to understand the original Vedas. So when such words are used in a particular verse multiple times, or even if it is used only once, which particular meaning applies in which particular instance, that we cannot figure out by our independent study or by our scholarship or by our using our intelligence in trying to fathom the actual meaning in the particular context. So the only way is by hearing. Only way is by hearing from directly the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee representative. So Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita that he tells Arjuna in the beginning of the 7th chapter, Yatha jnasasi tat shrunu. How you can know me in truth, free from doubt. What is that first verse of the 7th chapter? Mayyasakta manapārtha yogam yunjan madashrayah asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tat shrunu. Krishna is telling Arjuna, you hear from me. How you can know me fully, free from doubt, completely you can know me, can understand me. And also the process for hearing, with mind attached to me, maya asakta manaha, mayi asakta manaha. Yogam yunjan, by practicing this yoga system, madashrayaha, under my protection, under my shelter. So the process is hearing. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, you simply have to hear from the right source. Then you understand everything about God, about this world, about yourself, about the truth. Everything is simply possible by hearing. Now, this hearing doesn't require any qualification in terms of undergoing some education, undergoing some training, nothing. This hearing has to be done without speculation, without interpretation, without any bias in our own understanding. Only then the hearing is perfect. Now, this kind of hearing is actually unknown, especially to people in this Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga people are very much prone to interpret anything that they read or hear or see or perceive. They always speculate and try to understand. So, throughout the scriptures, this is very much stressed. Give up this business of speculation. Throw it away like garbage. Jnane prayasam udapasya. You cannot speculate and understand what is the absolute truth. Though you may try that for getting some material knowledge. Material knowledge is knowledge of dead matter. It doesn't have any living characteristics, living force. Just like you may study a person's behavior or his mind or his characteristics by observing him, by talking to him, by interacting with him. But still, you can never completely know the person 100% unless he reveals himself. It's true for just an ordinary person of this world. What to speak of the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Person, Krishna. So you can never know a living person by speculation. But matter, because it is dead, it doesn't have living characteristics. So living characteristics are different from the characteristics of dead matter. Right? This table, you can analyze in so many different ways. But whichever way you analyze, the table will remain a table. Even as you are studying the table will not change, except the change that happens is deterioration. That's all. Other than that, there is no change which will be completely changing the very intrinsic characteristic of the table. Whereas a person, first of all, we can't even understand a person is not the body by looking or studying or interacting. We can never know that. The person is not the body. So after one becomes little mature in interacting with another person, one understands, oh, the person is not the external body. Little maturity, little wisdom, little application of intelligence, can understand, oh, person is not the gross body. Because you come to know something inside the person is completely different from this gross body, that is the mind. So then you come to understand, oh, the mind is also there. Person has a mind. Of course, we don't say has a mind, we think person is the mind in the beginning. So when we try to understand the person in terms of the person's mind, oh, mind is very difficult to understand. Right? How the person will behave according to the state of mind. Correct? So that is very difficult to understand fully, completely. Like behavior cannot be always predicted accurately. Cannot predict the behavior accurately, always. Neither the behavior is fixed up, unchanging at all times. No. The mind itself is changing. We say mature mind, sober mind, a very well-developed mind. Correct? But beyond the mind is the intelligence which is driving the mind. The mind drives the senses and the intelligence drives the mind. All this nobody can ever figure out by speculation, by analysis, by studying, by observing, by making experiments. Never can figure out. Because you cannot get to the mind itself to even analyze or to study. Where is the mind? Can you see? Can you smell? Can you touch? No, it is not perceptible by the five senses. And modern science, they accept something exists only if it is perceivable by one of the five senses, these external senses. They don't even accept there is something called mind within this body, which is subtle matter. They don't accept subtle matter at all. So really speaking, according to our scriptures, the scientists, their intelligence is working on the level of the animals. It's very insulting to say this statement, but I'm just stating from the explanation in the scriptures. The animals can only perceive and do consider what is perceivable by their five senses. That's all that exists for them. Nothing else. They can know, they can conceive, or they can perceive nothing other than these five senses. It's only when one has a developed consciousness of a human being that there is a possibility you can understand, you can sense there is something beyond these five senses, either in your own self or in another person. Can know, oh, there is a mind. Like we say, no, sometimes, my mind is very disturbed. I don't have peace of mind. I have a lot of anxiety in my mind. Where is this anxiety, fear, stress, peace? Everything is within the mind. It's pertaining to the mind. But can you see the mind? No. Can you smell the mind? No. Can you touch the mind? Can you taste the mind? Can you hear the mind? No. You cannot. You cannot perceive by these five senses. Can you experiment with the mind? Some infrared spectroscopy, all kinds of experiments the scientists do, and it's totally impossible for them to even approach the mind. None of these experimental methods or their experimental devices or whatever, or even their mathematical ability to represent some phenomena in the form of mathematical equation, they have done wonders in terms of quantum physics and computer electronics. They have done wonders with this mathematical representation of the phenomena or of the different laws of material nature, representing it in form of equations. They have done wonders. But that is only limited to matter. You can't write an equation to represent the mind of a person. Never possible. Never possible. So, like this, and that mind is not the self, is not you. Even mind is classified as matter in the scriptures, in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham. These five elements are perceivable by our five senses. But when it comes to manas, buddhi, ahankara, that is also matter. It is dead. That itself is completely shocking for somebody who first reads the Bhagavad Gita, tries to understand from the Bhagavad Gita. Mind is dead matter. So if the scientists cannot even understand what is dead matter, what will they understand? The living spirit beyond even the mind, intelligence and ego. So it's totally out of reach for these scientists. And they may go on speculating, analyzing, doing experiments and all kinds of advancements in mathematics, advancements in quantum physics, everything they can keep on doing for millions and billions of years, and they'll always remain ignorant about spirit. As Srila Prabhupada says, as they make advancement, they may be able to approach subtle matter, study and understand what is subtle matter, mind, intelligence, false ego. They'll be able to understand. They have to do a lot more advancement in their field of physics, mathematics and all these other subjects. Yes. But they can never understand what is spirit soul by even any amount of advancement in these different branches of material knowledge. They can never understand. Because spirit soul is totally different from matter in every respect. There are no common characteristics of spirit and matter. Not at all. So therefore, spirit will remain always unknown, except if one adopts the method of hearing from the Acharya, hearing from the pure devotee, hearing from Krishna, and hearing without any preconceived ideas or notions. So this word Satya, in our ordinary language, it means truth. What is truth? But that truth itself is defined in a very, very precise way in a different context. Here, Satyavratam. Now, what does this mean? Vrata means vow. Satya means the truth. So here, the understanding is, as given by the Acharya, Satyavrata means it refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who never deviates from his vow. He is always truthful to his vow. Satyavratam. That's why sometimes he is also called Satyavrata. Satyavrata, another name for Krishna. Satyavrata. Because he never deviates from his vow. And what does that vow refer to in this context? Srila Prabhupada explains in a footnote. The Lord vows in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. That he will appear whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious principles. Dharmasya glanihi bhavati, and abhyutthanam adharmasya, and correspondingly adharma increases more and more and more. At such a time, tada, at that time, atmanam srijami aham, I personally come. I personally come. So, now is the time when the demigods had prayed to the Lord to remedy the situation on the earth. That earth was overburdened by so many demons, and these demons could not be subdued by the Devatas, including Brahma and Shiva. Then they pray to the Lord, and the Lord gives them a solution that I am going to appear and clear away this burden. So the Lord has appeared exactly according to his vow made in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, they begin the prayer with Satyavratam. Then Satya Param, he is the absolute truth. In the Bhagavatam, in the beginning, Vyasadeva is offering, the author is offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate on the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, because he is Satyam Param. He is the absolute truth. Param Satya. Ultimate truth. Absolute truth. Now, absolute truth also means Trisatyam. He exists in all three phases of time. Trisatyam. Before the creation of this world, during its maintenance, and after its destruction, he remains as he is without any change. So this distinguishes him from all of us. As far as we are concerned, as the persons or living beings with a material body, we did not exist with this material body before creation. After the destruction of this body, we don't remain in this form of body. The body itself is created and destroyed. And even during the maintenance, the body itself is undergoing change. The body itself is changing. So this is the greatest illusion in this world. Of course, people will agree, yeah, I didn't exist before this, before I was born in this body, and I won't exist after I die, because they don't know their real identity as soul. So in terms of the body, they will accept, yes. But what about during the maintenance of this body? We maintain this body, we eat, we supply it so many different things for maintaining this body. Otherwise, the body cannot be maintained. So we do all that. So we think, oh, I exist. Between birth and death, I exist. I exist means exist as this body. But that's also not correct. Because the body itself is constantly being destroyed. So in one place, Srila Prabhupada says, death is born along with birth. So we are dying little by little by little ever since we took birth. And the final stroke of this death is called what we call as death. When the body is completely annihilated. Otherwise, from the time we are born, the body is annihilated little by little by little by little. And this the scientists explain. Like this body is made up of so many cells. Millions, billions, trillions of cells. And those cells have different duration of existence. They say the bone cells are the longest living cells, something like that. The bone cells may even live for months or years. But the other cells, some survive only for few moments. Some will be there for few seconds or few minutes or few hours or few days or few weeks, like that. So if you consider this body is made up of cells, then those cells, they are being destroyed. And they're replaced by new cells. So the body is changing. And that's what Bhagavad Gita begins with. You are the same person who exists as a child, a youth, and even an old age. You are the same person. But your body is completely different. Where is your childhood body? Where is your childhood mind? Where is your childhood intelligence? Extend this body, gross body, to even the subtle body. The mind is completely different than the mind of a child. The mind of a youth is completely different. The mind of a elderly person, a wise person is completely different. So the body is changing, the gross body and the subtle body, but you are the same person. Of that you have no doubt. In fact, you identify, I am the same person. So, if you are the same person, then you are the unchanging truth within the body, within the gross and subtle body. And that is what you are spirit. You are not anything matter. That's what we understand from the Bhagavad Gita. So even as this very body, which we accept as ourself, even this body is not the identity through the changes, especially the change from childhood to youth to old age. Similarly, the body also changes at death. Of this, there is no doubt. Body changing at death, as far as the spirit soul is concerned. But the person doesn't exist anymore to tell that I am the same person. Like when the body changes from childhood to youth, if you have not seen somebody after they grew up from childhood, and then you see them after they are grown up, sufficiently grown up, the prime of their youth. So, oh, you are the same small child I used to know, I used to interact with, I used to play with. Oh, you've grown up so much. I could not recognize you. So where is that body, childhood body? It's completely gone. So this change is happening so very subtly. The destruction is happening so very little at a time that you cannot make out that death is already set in at the time of birth. This is what Vasudeva explains to Kamsa. That birth is there along with death. Why are you afraid of death? Death is anyway certain, and death is there along with the birth. So you cannot avoid death. That's the reason and the logic that Vasudeva tried to convince Kamsa to save the life of Devaki. But demons can never understand this. Only devotees can understand this truth. In any case, even during the maintenance phase of this body, the body does not remain. Therefore, the body is not absolute truth. It is relative truth. Relative truth means that which is true only for a certain period of time or certain phase of time. It's not true through all phases of time. So absolute truth, Krishna is Krishna before the creation, during the maintenance, and even after the annihilation or destruction of the entire creation itself, this entire cosmic manifestation. So therefore, Trisatyam. Like this, the word Satyam in every instance has got a very specific meaning explained only by the Acharya or the Supreme Lord himself. And Krishna explains all this that is being said here is explained by Krishna in brief in the Bhagavad Gita, but elaborated on the Bhagavatam. Now the Devatas are offering prayers, and through these prayers, they are helping us understand Krishna, the absolute truth. So I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.